The 2023 Phillies did not have the ideal start to their season, and on May 15th, they had a record of 20-21 with a negative 25 run differential. They had been missing Bryce Harper. He was on his way back from having Tommy John surgery. They had just signed Trey Turner to a mega deal to play shortstop, and he was not performing like he usually does. This was also a letdown because of how he performed at the World Baseball Classic. He absolutely mashed in that tournament. This was also Aaron Nola's contract year, and he hadn't gotten off to his best start. It was his third highest ERA to start a season in his career. So you could say things were kind of meh up to this point. Fast forward a couple months to August 4th. This is the day that everything would change for the 2023 Phillies. The Phillies had been playing a little bit better. They had worked their record to a 59-51 record, 8 games above 500, and they had a positive run differential. However, Trey Turner had still been struggling up to this point, but the Philly faithful decided to give Trey Turner a standing ovation despite these struggles. And from that point on, Trey Turner absolutely mashed. Starting on this day, Trey Turner would go on to hit over 330 with 16 homers and have an OPS of 1057. This has helped power the Phillies to finish with a 90-72 record. And their hot finish of the season would carry over to the playoffs when they would sweep the Marlins in the wild card series. They handed the Braves a shutout in the first game of the NLDS in Atlanta, the only time the Braves were ever shut out at home in 2023. They went on to dismantle the Braves in the NLDS in 4 games. Then they would go on to face the D-backs in the NLCS, and things were looking good. They were up 3-2 in the series with games 6 and 7, if necessary, to be played in Philly, which might be the loudest environment imaginable for a playoff series in baseball. There's basically no way the Phillies weren't going to the World Series, right? The D-backs, however, managed to pull off the unthinkable and take games 6 and 7 from the Phillies and go on to the World Series, where they would end up losing to the Texas Rangers. I don't know if anyone thought that the D-backs would pull that off, but they did, and they left everyone in Philly stunned. Hell, they probably left everyone outside of Philly stunned. But Philly wants to get back there so bad. They are looking for revenge. This offseason, they made sure to strike early and got one of their key guys back in Aaron Nola, signing him to a 7-year, $172 million deal. The Braves had reportedly offered Nola a contract worth more money, but Nola decided he wanted to stay in Philly and finish what he started. Mad respect to that man. They also secured Zach Wheeler to a 3-year extension worth $42 million a year, taking him through his age 37 season. That is expensive, but the Phillies are in win now mode. Wheeler and Nola are a great 1-2 punch, and they're going to be together through 2027 at least. They also brought in Whit Merrifield and Spencer Turnbull on small deals to be depth pieces, and most of the roster for 2023 was set to return for 2024. Expectations are really high for the 2024 Phillies, as they should be. They had a disappointing finish to the season after what looked like at least a World Series appearance in 2023. Phillies are hoping to get right back to their winning ways and carry that momentum from the end of last season over this one. I wonder how that's going for them right now. At this point last year, the Phillies were 18-19 with a negative 24 run differential, 7 games behind the Braves and a half game behind the Marlins. It's safe to say that they aren't behind the Marlins right now. If they were, they'd have some really big issues. And how are the Phillies doing right now compared to this point last year? At the time of the recording, the Phillies have the best record in baseball at 27-12, a game and a half better than the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're also 2 games up on the Braves, who many thought would run away with the division from day one, which has not been the case. To their credit, the Braves are currently 23-12, and that would put them in first place in the AL West, NL Central, and AL Central. So they're doing well, but the Phillies are just playing out of their minds so far to begin the year, and maybe more specifically these last 23 games. They actually started the year 8-8 with a negative 13 run differential, but since then they have gone 19-4 in their last 23 games. They've been winning games in so many different ways. We all know this lineup can mash, and that's exactly how they've been winning some of these games. They've been hitting for power. They're 5th in baseball in home runs. They've been really good at base running. They're 5th in stolen bases. They are 4th in all of baseball in walks. They're 2nd in all of baseball in average, right behind the Dodgers. They are 4th in OPS plus and 2nd in OPS, only behind the Los Angeles Dodgers. But it's the Dodgers. They're just on a different level when it comes to offense. No shame in being behind them. And when it comes to who is doing the most damage in the lineup for this Phillies team, you might automatically go straight to Bryce Harper's name. And I would not blame you one bit. But the guy who's leading the team in OPS and OPS plus is Alec Bohm. He has been so good this year. He leads all position players on the Phillies in WAR with 1.7. He leads the team with a 950 OPS and a 171 OPS plus. He has gotten better and better every season throughout his career, and this might be the year where we see him just take off and catch fire. If you take a look at his baseball savant page, it's not a fluke either. He went from this in 2023, and this is what he's done so far in 2024. Look at how much more red there is. Almost everything looks better this year for Alec Bohm than it did last year. And look at those outs above average as well. Defense has always been the biggest weak point, and right now he has a positive outs above average, by far the best of his career. It looks like he's becoming a star right before our eyes. Alec Bohm isn't the only surprising guy in the Phillies lineup that has been a big part of their success. I feel like the league in general just doesn't talk about Brandon Marsh enough. He was a tremendous part of their team since coming over from the Angels. He had a fantastic 2023 with 12 homers and an 829 OPS with a 125 OPS plus, all while playing really good defense in center field. He was really hot to begin this year. He has cooled off a little bit, but he's still doing really well at the plate with a 112 OPS plus. He's also hitting for a lot more power to start this year with 6 homers. homers, already half of last year's total, and he's also still playing that really good defense in center field. I just really wanted to highlight these two players because they are having really good years, Bohm especially. And even though Brandon Marsh has cooled off a bit this year, I just don't feel like he gets enough credit from the fans outside of the Phillies fan base. I know the Philly faithful know how good he is and how valuable he's been. And these two doing well are in addition to that Philly lineup that is doing a ton of damage. I mentioned that you would normally go right to Bryce Harper when it comes to the heart of the production for Philly. And what is Bryce doing, you might ask? Just casually has 9 bombs with an OPS of 924 and an OPS plus of 164. That was after a slow start to the season. And Bryce just got some added powers as well. He just got back from the paternity list, and in typical dad fashion to show off the new dad strength, he homered in 3 straight games. As if Bryce needed any extra powers, he is the type of dude who can carry a lineup when everybody is slumping. But the lineup isn't slumping. There are 7 starters in that lineup that have an OPS plus of over 100. JT Realmuto is having a strong season. Bryson Stott is starting to hit the ball a little bit. Kyle Schwarber is hitting for power and actually has a batting average over 211. Not that he cares about that. He also already has 57 strikeouts, but if he hits 40 bombs, no one will care. Trey Turner has also built off of how he finished last year. It just sucks because he went on the injured list with a hamstring injury and he's probably going to be out for about 6 weeks. But before that, he was crushing the ball. He had a 343 average, an OPS of 852, a 145 OPS plus with 10 steals. Before this season, everyone already thought that the lineup would mash. But what about their pitching? We know that they were going to have a really good top 2 in Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler, who are both doing better than they were last year. And Zach Wheeler is making a really strong case for the 2024 Cy Young. Probably way too early to talk about that, but he has a 1.64 ERA with a 2.31 FIP. It's so weird to me that he's only been an all-star 1 time. I would have gotten that one wrong in 2 Truths and a Lie. That would have had to have been the lie. But it's not just those two. Ranger Suarez has been incredible this year. He has a 1.50 ERA in 54 innings this year while striking out 55 and only walking 8 whole walks. He has been outstanding this year, and I don't think anyone expected it. I always thought he was good, but never thought he was capable of these numbers even in this short of a sample size. Christopher Sanchez has also been great. He has a 3.22 ERA through 36 and a third inning. Not to mention Spencer Turnbull. The Phillies took a flyer on him after missing all of 2022 and being horrendous last year coming back from an injury. He now has a 1.57 ERA in 34 and a third innings with a FIP of 3.34. This rotation has been a huge part in putting the Phillies where they are right now. And just out of curiosity, do you want to hear where they rank as a starting rotation compared to the rest of the league? They have the second lowest ERA only to Boston. They have the best FIP in baseball. They also have the most innings pitched out of any starting rotation by 10 innings, and they have the lowest xFIP. And this is the kicker. The Boston Red Sox and the Chicago Cubs are tied for second place in starting rotation WAR with 4.2. They are both behind the Phillies, who have a 5.9 WAR from the starting rotation. That is just nuts. Ranger Suarez actually leads the team in WAR, and it is huge for their bullpen as well, saving some of their arms with all those innings pitched by their starters. If there's any weak point to this team, it is the bullpen that has a 4.61 ERA, which is 21st in the league. But if you take a look a little bit deeper, the bullpen FIP is about 3.5, which would be 5th in baseball. So those numbers may even out over time. And really, the only thing you can knock the Phillies for right now is their strength of schedule and who they played so far. According to the standings, they have played 9 games against teams that are currently over 500, but they are 6-3 in those games. And even when you play lesser opponents, you still have to play the games, and you still have to win those games. Every game counts. You have to win against bad teams, and the Phillies are winning against bad teams, and when they play good teams, they're winning those as well. It's like you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. When you have an easy schedule, people say, oh, they aren't playing anyone good, even if they win those games. But if they lose to those teams, people will be like, oh, they're trash. They can't even beat the A's, who aren't even bad this year. Even good teams lose to bad teams in baseball sometimes. That's just how it is. Take a look at last year. The Braves lost a series to the Athletics last year, and those were 2 historic teams in 2023. Just different ends of the spectrum of historic. All in all, this Phillies team is just not messing around. Most people pick the Braves to win the NL East in 2024, but the Phillies are a serious threat to dethrone them and keep the Braves from extending their division championship streak. But the Phillies have much more than the NL East in mind. They are out for revenge from last year. They will not stop until they are hoisting that piece of metal above their heads later this fall.